If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
All right, dear listener, welcome to the DJ stream.
Yep. Where
If you, dear listener, would like to be a DJ, the process is very, very simple. 4 song minimum, no song maximum. By the way, that red and green symbol is from DJ AT's Rented Reality Instagram account, which I just think is it's badass. I really he's like that guy Lex Friedman. I listen to him from time to time. So he's got an account at IG. It's called Rented Reality. He's an artiste, and he does his thing.
we've got a couple pieces of his art here tonight.
Okay, guys, here we go. Song numero uno is Amon Amarth Into the Dark. Is that what it's called? Into the Dark. Amon.
Yep, Into the Dark.
Amon Amarth Into the Dark. DJ AT. Let's do it.
Wow.
Whoa, that's a tough
Yeah.
in the sense of the hood version of tough. Like, that was badass.
Oh.
Good job.
Yeah, I thought it was tough in the sense of like watching him slowly get kind of sucked deeper into it. So like at the beginning, he's saying that there's a darkness in my soul, a darkness that can't be tamed. But he says, into the light, I make this journey on my own, from the dark into the light. I must fight this darkness all alone. So he's like fighting it at first. And then, you know, as it progresses, he says, I try to do what is right, and still my twisted mind is full of spite, and each day a struggle with this side of me, a losing battle I can't break free. And then eventually he gets to the point where he's just being dragged back down into the depths of despair about it. And then he just seems to decide that I can't break free. Oh no, this darkness is me. And then he just seems to accept it by the end. So that was...
And he says, I'm Loki.
Yeah.
So, this...
Is the story of Loki?
Yeah, this might be... You know, Amon Amarth, like, we've done a couple of them, and it's all the Norwegian stuff. The Norwegian religious stuff. Which is fascinating, because... whether you believe that there's an actual ontological being in the universe somewhere called Loki, or whether you look at Loki as a
type of something, yeah,
of some aspect of human nature, maybe the mischievous dark side of human nature. That was kind of,
yeah.
You know, it was on Disney, right? Like the Loki series.
I think so.
And that was one of the big kind of...
I liked it.
Well, there was always this undercurrent of like, how could we trust you? You're Loki type of thing, and he's always lying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's.
I mean, he can't even trust himself.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So he's got to struggle with that demon all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As far as, and it was weird because when I first saw Loki, obviously in the
comics,
yeah, in the Avengers, he was just pure bad. He was all bad, and he was irredeemably bad. The very, very first episode, the very first Avengers movie, he was all bad. So
was it the same guy? Like the same?
Yeah, it's the same pale guy. And then the whole
yeah,
blah, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah,
I didn't think he was. Well, he was kind of funny though, right?
Well, yeah, he's funny, but his intentions were all evil. Like Vegeta's funny too, but he was evil as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the devil's kind of funny. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like evil characters are generally kind of funny.
Yeah, because they're so prideful.
But he was kind of like the god of mischief and all the rest of it. Hopefully, my mic is a little closer to for people's whatever. But obviously, you know, the lyrics. I think everybody can relate to the lyrics of being a quote bad person.
Yeah.
And trying to be a good person, or trying to, you know, attain to whatever vision of goodness or whatever definition of good you think good is. And you don't necessarily have to be a Christian. I mean, everybody has a definition of what they think good or bad is. You know what I'm saying? And that's not being, you know, what people call being a good and bad person. That's not exclusive to Christianity. There's a lot of people. I mean, everybody's got, to some degree, you know, I'm sure there's probably some philosophy out there. A person would say, no, I don't care about being good or bad. But most people do care about being good or bad. And most people have a definition of good or bad. And whether or not you think there's a true definition of what goodness or bad is that can be established objectively, I'm just talking about in the real world. Everybody kind of walks around with the idea that there's a good and a bad that we should attain to, or that we should avoid. And I think people really struggle with this concept of why do we have this standard of goodness that none of us can seem to attain or maintain? And I think a lot of philosophies are ultimately dedicated to try to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, Macbeth is such a fascinating story. It's because you have this guy who starts out as a at least in the world of Macbeth, a very good person. You know, he's a warrior.
Right, yeah.
He's fighting for good.
Well, that's
obviously.
how the king landed in that situation, was because he trusted him.
Yeah. Oh, correct. Yeah. No, that's a very, very good point. And that's why archetypes like Macbeth are so captivating to people, because you can have a person that's so good that they gain your trust.
Yep.
And then that kind of betrayal is like, holy shit. And it's the same thing with Judas. Why Judas is such a crazy archetype, because he was
trusted the most out of all the disciples, because
Correct.
he was given the purse. Like, he would hold everybody's money. Obviously, the person that's going to hold all the money has to be the person that everybody feels is the most trustable person, and that was that was him.
Yeah.
It's crazy because he was stealing from them the whole time.
Yeah. So haven't I chosen you 12 and one of you is a devil?
We I used to have all these like cartoon versions of Bible stories for Salem. But the people that created it always made like the bad people like more black than the other people. It was really terrible. I didn't realize it until you pointed it out, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, the Judas character, which is supposed to be the one that everybody trusted the most, he always looked like really sinister. Like, how did everybody fall for this? And then when you told me that, I was like, you're right. Why do they do this? He's got like the darkest hair, the darkest look about him. Ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's how, you know, like, for example, no, Pink Floyd hasn't been played yet. Like River's saying, Loki saves the gods various times. He once helped Thor to retrieve Mjolnir from a giant who'd stolen it. I think Mjolnir is some powerful weapon or something like that, or maybe a snake. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with that mythology, but that seems to be how most of us handle our dark side, which is to say, okay, well, let's do something on the
offset it.
on the bright side to offset it. I think most people have, I don't want to say given up on the war, but conceded that the dark side of themselves is who they are, or part of who they are. His hammer, okay.
Well,
that will never be overcome.
one thing that I think is interesting, and maybe I don't know how ads run, but I don't pick the options, that way your stuff puts the ads that like go for what you want. But like on this, a lot of times the ad on the side matches kind of like the song. So it's like, oh, if somebody likes this song, they'd probably be interested in this. And like, here's this song about all this darkness, and then on the side, it's like Operation Smile to, you know, fix a kid's upper lip. You know what I mean? So I don't know if like a lot of times the people that come here to look at these lyrics are also the type of people that would click on helping that kid's lip.
Or maybe our search.
It might be ours, but sometimes I go on stuff that like, I mean, I don't know. I've never fixed a kid's lip before. And I've never looked up how to save a kid's lip either. But
yeah,
anyway,
but I think a lot of people are like that though, and I think really bad religious energies will use people's desire to sort of reconcile that dark part of themselves to their advantage. Because if you have any sort of wisdom in human experience, you know that is an extremely dangerous track to go on. This track of I'm going to use the good to counteract my bad, to level myself out so I don't feel terrible about myself for not hitting my own standards. Like, a lot of people try to say, oh, there's religious people are, make you feel guilty. What I've seen is that guilt is a universal emotion.
oh yeah.
And the reason for that is because, like I said, everybody has a standard of good, but I've never met a person that's ever said, I have perfectly hit 100% of the time my own standard of good. So the feeling that you get when you miss your standard of good is guilt. That's what guilt is. It's when you know you've done wrong or you haven't done the good that you should have done. There's a feeling of guilt. What hostile religious people do is they exacerbate that guilt. By adding more guilt and then not giving you a way out to get you off as what my friend called treadmill, where you're working, but you never get anywhere.
Right.
It's like religion will get you working, and you're sweating and you're doing all these deeds to try to cancel out your darkness, but then 5 years in deep, you never get anywhere, except for feeling more guilty.
I was gonna say, I think you feel more guilty.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting to look at. There's a darkness in my soul, a darkness that can't be tamed, a deep void of emptiness, the gaping wound, a vile, corrupted entity that has no name. That's a good line. That's a very, very, very good line. From the dark into the light, I make this journey on my own. From the dark into the light, I must fight this darkness alone. See, that sounds very, that sounds extremely sad that he's alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't take it as like he's completely alone. Just like in this struggle, he is alone. And there's a sense in which all of us are alone unless you invite the gods into your battle with you.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it's better that they be alone than they get exposed to certain types of systems of thought. Like we've got a friend, and the way that he's solving the problem is asceticism. He's all this crazy self-denial, but it turns it in our view anyway, and it's turned him into an extremely kind of judgmental, prideful person to the people around him.
Right.
To the people outside of his circle, he's actually very nice to. But to the people inside of his circle, he's got such high standards that they can't attain to that, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a turnoff, but I mean,
well,
it's putting that person kind of under a yoke of slavery.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But I do think there's a lot of self-awareness in this song where he says that he can't tame it.
Yep.
I think that's, now obviously that's what we've been saying for thousands of years, that there's a principle of darkness within you that you can't tame. But then the question becomes, who is the I? Because he's saying, I must fight this darkness all alone, but the person or being that he's fighting is not some entity outside of himself.
Well, I think that
he's
sounds
saying
like
the darkness is in his soul.
Yeah, at the beginning of it, it sounded like it was something that was not him, and then by the end, he's saying, "No, it's me. I am this. That's me."
Right. So he's saying, "There's a darkness in my soul that cannot be tamed." So it's a. I was gonna say it's a faction of himself. It's a fragment of himself, but it's probably more accurate to say that there's a faction in himself that is like this. Like right now, there's a country at war, and there's a clear faction that wants peace, and there's another faction within that country that wants war, all in the one country. And so I've moved away from thinking of a human being as a sort of singular conscious entity. Like I'm about 65% more sure that we have multiple consciousnesses assigned to these bodies, and that there is one superego or king consciousness that is held responsible for unifying the factions. Is one faction wants to do this, one faction wants to do that, and I think there's a collection of consciousnesses within ourselves that desire only what we consider dark things. And I think there's a faction within ourselves that desire only right things, and that our superego or our king consciousness is a mix of both, and that is the I that's fighting.
So do you think that the main conscious one can change? Like it would have to, right? Like if there's like one main guy that's like kind of like controlling the other aspects of yourself. But
I didn't say he was controlling. I said that the larger one was responsible.
He's responsible.
Right.
Okay.
But he can't.
He's the words.
He's responsible, but he'll never win by himself, is what I believe.
Okay. But then, like, let's say somebody's not that they are basically the guide of their own life, but then somebody wants to move over and say, actually, I think that I'd have Jesus be the guide of my life. Then would you say that changes what?
Well, let me say it this way, because I'm literally formulating this psychology and theology as we're having these discussions, which is why I talk to AT a lot, because he and I have these discussions. So there's a dark faction in you, which will say the sinful nature, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. So there's a faction of consciousnesses within you that only want bad things. Then there's a faction of consciousnesses within you that only want good things. Mm-hmm. But then there's a super ego or the king consciousness that is responsible for making the ultimate decisions. And when we say, I am fighting, that's what we're referring to. So when I say, I am fighting, I'm calling that faction of yourself the king consciousness, right? And that's what you get held responsible for and all the rest of it. Here's what I think. I think that, and I'm speaking as a Christian, I think that consciousness is actually allied with our dark side.
Okay.
I think the alliance is naturally with our dark side, and that the good consciousnesses within us actually are the ones that are doing the fighting. So it's the good consciousness that's doing the fighting to pull us away from the bad consciousness of which we are aligned to naturally. So for me, I think what conversion is God is flipping that,
Okay.
so that our king ego is now aligned with our good consciousness, which we call
that's
the image,
interesting.
which we call the image of God.
Yeah.
And now it works the other way. That's what I think is happening with the human person. And so that's what he's describing. Mm-hmm. And he's saying it's a losing battle that I can't break free from. When the reason that it keeps losing is because his king consciousness is allied with the bad side. It's aligned with that one. That's what I think is happening.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
Cassia in the house.
I thought it would be so cool if in the chorus there was a female vocalist.
The executive control. That's good. That's what I'm going to call it from henceforth.
The executive
The
control.
executive consciousness. Yes. No, I really believe. I think that's where I am.
Yep.
I think that's where I am. Vin about Christianity. Resistance and futile. You will be assimilated. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think resistance is futile but necessary. Mm-hmm. You should resist your alliance to your dark consciousnesses, because you'll end up doing some really horrible things. You'll end up doing it, but none of us have the strength to resist that, because it's one of those battles where it's like, no. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the alcoholic.
That's what I
He's
was gonna
driving
say,
by the
yeah.
bar. He's like, I'm fighting this.
Right. What did you think about? Did you think that the chorus should have a female vocalist in there too? Would be cool.
Oh, especially at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, if a female vocalist was accenting the lyrics, I mean the guitar melodies,
Yeah.
that would have been great.
Yeah.
Once a person becomes baptized, the old person dies, a new person is born. Right. So the death of the old person would be symbolized by a new executive consciousness. Mm-hmm. So or a new alliance with the executive consciousness. Right. So now the executive consciousness is aligned with the image of God within you. And you have to understand that the dark consciousnesses within you, or the one or the many, you have to understand that that's still part of you, and you have to love yourself unconditionally. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the biggest, like, observing some of my kids, the ones that love themselves unconditionally are so much more
Happy.
able to love other people. They're
Yeah.
so much quicker to love other people
Yep.
and forgive other people. The
Yep.
ones that don't love themselves unconditionally, forget it.
It's true. It's, you know what's funny is that, you know, from my vantage point, the ones that love and accept themselves are actually the ones that make the most screw ups too.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just like, it's a I mean, what am I gonna do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the ones that are able to more tote like that line of perfection, they have a harder time because they want to be perfect.
Yeah, you have
and
to-
they believe themselves to be able to be there.
I'm a real firm believer in, you have to be, of all the people in the room, you must be kindest to yourself. I don't believe that human beings are ever going to be able to out-kindify themselves for a long period of time, meaning be nicer to other people than they are to themselves. I definitely see that happening in short term, but when I observe people who are unkind to other people, it always unravels at some point.
Yep.
And then it, you know, so if you can practice being understanding and kind and good to yourself, you will be kinder to other people if that's your intention. Mm-hmm. But so you have to look at the dark side, and you know he's using terms like demons and things like that, And I understand that, but I think in order to really, really, truly be kind and good to other people, you have got to be kind to yourself. Mm-hmm. And that means recognizing I have dark intelligence is assigned to my body that I am responsible for.
Right.
And I have to own, and it's fascinating when people can't do that. I mean, I'm seeing it on the national level. Like Americans, you'll tell Americans, hey, our country did X, Y, Z. It can't process.
Unbelievable.
You got to have a villain over there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And
and
then it makes you a completely ruthless person.
Yep.
To literally millions of people. You could be completely ruthless to all these other people.
It's wild.
And completely unkind. But I love America unconditionally. Because these are my folks. So I'm going to live and die with them. But what that means though is I'm going to say we got a lot of really dark shit about my country, man. And so, but I have a lot of understanding for my country as well because I look at human nature and I go, okay, this is just an expression of we have dark intelligences within our country.
Yep.
We have empowered dark intelligences, and we've got to take accountability. But we still got to love all of that. We've got to look it in the eye, despite it, and look it right in the face, and still accept it. And for me,
people don't want to.
For me, the bridge for all of that is the cross, because I go, okay, well, as dark as humanity can get, it can't get darker than Jesus on the cross, in my opinion. Not just because of the pain, but because of the heinity of the crime, in the sense that this was the best possible person. Mm-hmm. And you did the worst possible thing to the best possible person. And so you can look that darkness right in the face and have the ultimate principle of good say, I don't love you in spite of this.
Right.
Right. I love you because of this, which is vastly different. And so if then the ultimate good can be kind to me, I can be kind to myself. And that's how I reconcile. I can be kind to myself. I can be kind to my country. And then I can kind of shrug off my own evil and say, yeah, but I still love you, bro. And then you can love other people. So there you are, dear listener. Problem is solved. What do you get this
out in one song review? Vocal style is not really my thing. 8.3.
How dare you? Somebody just messaged me. Hey, I've never seen this person before, so this should be interesting. 9.7. Oh, you had clicked on my video. Excellent. 9.7, dear listener. 9.7. I really, really like this song a lot. I liked it a lot. 9.7. There you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.